Here's a fun little overview of where we are headed with this memory keeping spread. I love the colors. I love the way this turned out. I love the way that the photos and the colors of the project really encompassed the freezing cold, frigid temperatures of winter. We got 13 inches of snow here in southern Ohio, and it was brutal. So to start off, we are going to create a little highlights section for the week, and I'm doing this with vellum sticker paper. Now, one thing I want to talk about, you're going to see I have distress oxide and distressed ink out. Those are two different types of stamping inks. I am using vellum sticker paper, which is a little bit kind of like a glossy photo. It's clear, you can't see through, or you can see through it, but the texture of it, I guess, is like a glossy photo. Especially for these little baby stamps, like little tiny words, lettering, thin lines, distress ink works so much better than distress oxide. Distressed ink dries a little bit faster. It works better for those thinner stamps. It also works better just on certain kinds of stamps, depending on whether acrylic, the polymer stamps. Maybe I can make a video about that one day, but the best tip I can give you is just to practice. Get you some distressed ink and some distressed oxide and practice on different types of media, whether it's vellum, it's regular sticker paper, it is cardstock, it doesn't matter, just practice. That is how I have learned that distressed ink works a little bit better on glossy kind of surfaces. So if you're ever stamping on vellum, distressed ink is the best way to go. Same thing for like glossy photos. Now, distressed oxide does work on the vellum. You just have to be really careful because it can smear super easy, especially with these little baby stamps. It also takes just a little bit longer to dry than the distressed ink, and it's, that makes it to where you're more likely to accidentally run your hand over it or your arm or something like that and smear it. So just be cautious. Use distressed ink if you have it. I don't have all the colors in the distressed ink that I have in oxide, but I'm just using these bluer colors here that I have, and I'll have them linked down below. The archival ink, this stuff is amazing. You can stamp on anything with this, and it works great. Now, I do recommend stamping on like vellum sticker paper, white sticker paper, something like that, because if you mess up, it's not directly in your planner, and you don't have to figure out a way to cover it up. You can just cut you out a new section and start over. So this is just a fun little way to get some stamping in there, a little collage effect. This right here, speaking of collage, is a frosted photo collage that I made, and I actually have a technique video on how to create this already on my YouTube channel. I'll have that link down below if you want to check it out. And I also have a technique video, or techniques videos. It's a playlist on YouTube where I show you fun different little techniques. So I will have that playlist linked down below too, and you guys can check it out. So I've already created this, just gonna use some red line tape and adhere this down into my planner. The next section we are gonna work on, my kids stole my phone and took a bunch of selfies, so of course we have to showcase those. And I'm gonna create like a little bifold contraption. I don't know the words that I'm looking for, but starting out, I don't actually measure this. I just use my finger to kind of figure out where the height that I want. And then I'm going to be folding this over to create that bifold, like I said, using a bone folder to make sure we get good crispy edges. And then folding over this other side as well. And I did have to trim the top of this a little bit because it didn't end up being completely straight. So I just took a paper trimmer, went over the top edge to have a good straight line. Flipping it over to make sure, again, crispy edges. That's what we want. Now I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to mark where the left flap, oh, hold on, just kidding. I'm actually going to use some sandpaper first to distress this. Excuse me, I love the distress look. But I'm going to take the pencil where the left flap folds over onto the right side. I'm going to create a pencil mark. So I did this wrong at first. It needs to go on the right side of it. So then that way I can cut out a flap that will hold the pages together. I hope that makes sense. And this is one of those third time's a charm situations. And I don't know what kind of giant rainbow I was trying to draw on there, but we needed a smaller one. Using an X-Acto knife to cut this out, just go slow and steady. I got it cut. You're not going to cut the bottom either. Just going to cut that rainbow the top of the rainbow, I guess, not the bottom, because you don't want to cut this completely out of there. And if you flip it back, you can see it creates a little tab that will hold down the top of this together. And then I've got a frog in my throat. I stamped hello on that little tab, and now we're going to be adding in all of these fun little selfie photos. And the method I want to do, I want to have these to where you can flip each photo over. So I'm going to take the other piece of this and I'm going to cut it down to the length that I need that fits within those folding doors, if you will. So that fits great. I'm going to line these photos up where I wanted them, starting on the right side. They are pretty close together on the left side, but that's okay. Just be cautious that they're not overlapping. And we're going to create slits inside of this piece of paper for where each one of these photos go. And you just want to kind of line them up, make sure that they're nice and straight. And then to actually cut them, we're going to use a paper trimmer. And if you didn't know this, which I'm sure you do, your paper trimmer on that little like cross thing that your finger goes on, there's a line there and that shows you where you're cutting. So you can get precision cuts with this. I say that, but I also cut off the bottom or top, I don't remember, of the first slit. But you guys will see what we'll do with these slits here in just a second. Get the slits made, and then I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper. This might be 1/2 inch wide, and I'm going to fold it over, bone fold it down so we have, again, crispy edges. All right, and then taking the photo, I'm going to line it up on there where I want it, and I'm going to take my scissors to trim off the excess. And we're going to use, I think this is 1/4 inch red line tape on here. Now the first photo that you do needs to fold the opposite way of the other photos. You'll see what I mean. So I adhere this down onto the right side. I'm going to erase my pencil marks. I'm going to take this picture and slide it through. But this first one needs to fold down towards all of the other photos. I hope that makes sense. You'll see me put the red line tape under here, peel off the backer, and adhere that top section down. The red line tape is still showing, so when I put the second photo in, we'll adhere it over top of that. It'll make more sense in just a second. So again, doing the exact same process here with the photo. And then when I slide it through, it can adhere down onto that flap from the first photo. So I'll peel off the backer from the first photo, and unfortunately I lift this up to where you can't see it, but I'm just going to adhere that other flap down over top of that red line tape that was on there from the first photo. Gosh, I'm saying this out loud and I'm genuinely, I mean, you can see for the most part what I'm doing, and I hope that it makes sense. And then I'll show you one more time with the last photo. Actually, there's a couple more photos, but just so you can see it again. And I think on this one, I kept it pretty much on camera. Okay, I'm lying already. I forget sometimes when I zoom in to not pick things up too far. Okay, yes, you can actually see this one. There we go. All right, so I got all of the photos in there through the little slits, and I'm going to use the red line tape on the back of it so I can adhere it down. It doesn't matter if you go over these little flaps that you created, they're already stuck down anyways. So that's not really a big deal. But then we're going to adhere this into that bifold door section thing that we made. Now we have a little enclosure for everything. This photo I'm going to stick on the back of the first. I think I had 2 other photos that I also put on the backs of the other photos, but this is great because this gives you room for plenty of photos. You've got room for journaling. You can do some stamping in there if you want. I kept mine pretty simple. Again, using red line tape to adhere this down. Anytime in my memory keeper, if I have any type of interactive element, whether something lifts up, it pulls out, whatever the case may be, I do use red line tape. This is a very strong adhesive, so I want to make sure with those interactive elements that things do not come out. Now this little vellum folder and the little tab that comes with it is out of one of my Heidi Swapp kits. I'm not for sure which one, but I learned how to make bread. So I made 2 loaves of bread. This was my first time. I got me a stand mixer and I made me some bread, so I was kind of excited for that. So I'm adhering these photos to the front and the back of it. And I also have, you guys probably know this if you've been following me, a coffee addiction. I just need you to know real quick though, I did write banking right there instead of baking because spelling is apparently hard. But coffee addiction, let's talk about that. I drink the Nescafe Espresso Blonde instant coffee. It's freaking delicious. And it's really hard to find. Apparently everybody knows about it. But I did go in Kroger's, who never has it. But I actually found 7 of them. And yes, I was being greedy and I bought all of them because I normally can never find any. And it's a wee bit stressful. So I bought those. And that is definitely a highlight moment because I need to talk about my coffee addiction. Okay. So just sticking that down in there. Now this section here, on the right side, this is mostly for journaling, and I love this layout. This is probably my favorite layout that she has because typically I do not have this many photos. And in the old section, I felt like I was constantly trying to create a ton of elements to go in there instead of photos, which I don't mind, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I like this because I have plenty of room if I have an abundance of photos, but then also if I don't, I have plenty of room for journaling and ways that I can stamp and mostly put photos typically just on the left side, journaling on the right side. I have this full little photo of my kiddo out on the sled. This isn't an interactive element, so I'm just using regular Tombow double-sided tape to adhere this down. Look how cute he is. It was so cold. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but we got 13 inches of snow here in southern Ohio. And I mean, flipping cold weather. It sucked. Thankfully, thank the Lord, we did not lose electricity. Incredibly thankful for that. So just adhering some of these photos down closer to the day of the week that they happened. From here, you're going to see me jump into the completed spread. Unfortunately, my battery went dead and I did not know it, so it did not film me journaling and stamping on the right side. But what I tried to do on the right side, because I didn't have a ton of journaling to do, was do some more stamping over there just to help fill some stuff in. So you guys can see this is what the completed spread looks like. This fun little frosted collage element over here. We have this cute little folder and tab. We've got the bifolding doors down at the bottom. Also, what didn't record is I did have to put Velcro on this. You can see me kind of peel it up at the top because it didn't want to stay down. I should have probably cut the tab a little less, a little shorter, if that makes sense. That may have helped it stay down, or maybe a little longer is what I'm needing to say. And then I did stick a photo inside of this cute little envelope over here on the side. Just a cute little pull-out photo. I sanded the edges of that photo down. And it says essentials because we had to make a trip out in the snow to get a few things. And then what I do want to show you guys, Heidi Swapp has a monthly memory keeper. And this is where I take just a few notes about what happened during the day. Obviously, as you can see, I'm not very consistent with it, which track record here, not consistent with most things, but I do love this. This is very helpful. I also have the note app on my phone that I use to take tidbits about the day. That helps so much with being able to journal. So I will link her monthly planners down below in the description box. But yes, that is a completed spread for one of the weeks in January.